Not a surprise, this breed originated in Germany. The German Shepherd is known as the world's leading police, guard, and military dog. On this episode of the Paw Report, we're joined by Charleston resident and lifelong owner of German Shepherds, Ann Spear, who knows a few reasons why this breed is so popular in the United States. Stay with us. Production for the Paw Report is made possible by Inyart Tire and Auto Center in Charleston and Mattoon. Inyart offers complete auto repair. Inyart Tire and Auto Center cares about our community and thanks you for being a responsible pet owner. More information at inyart.com. And on this episode of the Paw Report, we're joined by Ann Spear, a lifelong German Shepherd owner, and she brought with her today her two special companions. We have Roxie and Truman, and she's going to talk more about them and all about German Shepherds on this episode. So thank you, Ann, for joining us, and thank you, Roxie. And they're relaxed now. So
yeah, they are.
I'm not going to pick up their balls or pet them and get them all riled up. So you have been a lifelong German Shepherd owner, and you know we're going to talk a lot about them and their temperament and their activities that they like. But let's go back in time and where did the German Shepherd originate?
Oh, well, from Germany. Late in the 19th century, I think, a fellow, see if I can, Stefanitz, I believe his name was, liked a dog he saw at a show. He was a herder, sheep herder, and bought this dog, and he was also somewhat of an entrepreneur, I understand, and he liked the dog and started a breeding program to develop the breed. He then, I think in the early 20th century, started the first German Shepherd club or association and set the standard for the breed.
And then they came to the United States in the early 1900s. Is that when they were kind of really brought over and recognized by the AKC?
This Stefanitz was a pretty good marketer, and when World War I came about, he marketed a lot of dogs to the Army, to the German Army, and the Allies really admired what the dogs could do for the Germans, I guess. So
mining, they could send and scout for mines.
I don't know what all they did, but being war dogs, they were there and they helped. So a lot of the dogs got brought back to Britain and America after World War I. And then, as I understand it, that's when the AKC admitted them as a breed.
Registered breed, yes. You have been a lifelong German Shepherd owner. Why German Shepherds for you? What attracted you to this breed?
Well, I grew up with them. I grew up on a farm. My father always had German Shepherds to help with the stock. Cattle, hogs, sheep. The dogs protected them and herded them for him. I have a picture actually of myself at about this tall, standing next to the German Shepherd at the original Roxie. And so I've grown up with them. Besides that, I just think they're beautiful, and of course they're really intelligent, so they make great companions.
I was going to ask, they're actually one of the most popular breeds according to the AKC, and maybe you can talk about why that is, being a lifelong owner, and why they're so popular.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with me that they're beautiful, and
they are beautiful.
You appreciate an intelligent companion, you know, so
when you say intelligent, you know, talk about that, because they are smart. I mean, as far as maybe training is easy, and they get it.
Yeah, they are. I guess one of the reasons for the popularity too was the movies that were made with German Shepherds.
Rin Tin Tin.
Rin Tin Tin and Strongheart. So lots of people got exposed to the kind of dog that would respond and cooperate and be a helpful companion, whatever they're doing.
Talk about these two. You said they have quite a story, and they're actually related. and they are beautiful, and they're so friendly. But you said that there's a neat story behind Roxie and Truman.
When I retired, I was ready to get a dog. Moved back to my country home. We live in the country, so I wanted a pup, and I found a good breeder and ordered one up, and this is who I got. I asked for a dog who was a puppy who kind of acted like the mother already. I wanted a puppy who was not the roly-poly or not the shy one. I wanted, some people call it the alpha. Mm-hmm. I wanted a strong female. And that's what I got here.
Mm-hmm. In Roxie.
In Roxie. About a couple years later, I was ready for another pup. And so I went back to the same breeder and got a litter, chose from a litter who is actually her nieces and nephews. Her litter mate sister is his mother. Mm-hmm. So she's his aunt, he's her nephew, I guess. Mm-hmm. Well, this time, instead of picking the pup myself, I asked the breeder to choose for me. He knew what kind of a dog Roxie is. And so I needed a dog whose temperament would complement hers. So he picked Truman. And when I went down to pick him up, I thought, oh my, I don't know. He wouldn't look me in the eye. Mm-hmm. He was so shy. He was not terribly lacking in confidence. He got along with her fine. But it was 3 or 4 months before he'd even look me in the face. Which...
Well, new environment, you know.
I remember my father said he liked to choose a dog who would look him in the eye. And that's kind of always what I'd gone by. Mm-hmm. So here I got this pup that was shy and a little bit quite different from her. But as he's grown up, he's developed confidence. She's trained him as much as I have. Mm-hmm. And he's got different talents than her.
Let's talk about the talents of the German Shepherd, because mm-hmm. there's a lot of them. You know, we think of police dogs. I mean, that just is the first thing that comes to mind for me, but other talents of the German Shepherd.
Well, okay, cognitively, they're pretty good. They can figure out puzzles. They can figure out, they learn a lot of language. They learn, when you say, let's go to the river, they start going to the river. That's all. Mm-hmm. They are very oriented to one person usually. Mm-hmm. So that's why they became guide dogs for the blind. Mm-hmm. Part of their character is to be territorial, which makes them good guardians for sheep and cattle and children, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When she was only 9 months old or so, she was already kind of herding the grandchildren away from the road. She'd never been trained to do that, but it was her instinct to do that. Don't let the little ones by the road. Talents: athletic, strong. So some of the working dogs have to use their bodies a lot. They have a lot of endurance. There's probably more that
That's a lot, yeah. and you've listed a lot. What about both of their markings, though different, are similar in a lot of ways. What is the breed standard for a German Shepherd? I mean, obviously, the one that stands out to me is their ears and their nose.
Right. Well, the breed standard is usually darker colors. White is dispreferred, although they are beautiful dogs, can be. I think they like the darker the better, but that's not necessarily my preference. I like to see contrast on their faces. Mm-hmm. The ears need to be erect and point forward. Their nose is notably long and wide mouth. To be good, they're supposed to be the same length between here and here. This is
didn't know that.
A balance. this is one thing you learn in dog club. You learn about some of those features, the balance between, and so that their head is directly over their shoulders and they're not leaning or receded. Most dogs have a lighter shoulders and flanks and what they call a saddle in this part of their body, the darker part. Yes, yes. Okay, you're doing good.
And their stance is also, you know, when you watch dog shows, when I watch dog shows, I love this group. But they have that majestic stance where the one paw is kind of cocked back.
Train them to do that.
Is there a particular name for that? And if there's not,
know.
but they also have a very interesting walk. Talk about their walk.
They're generally trot. So they can trot for miles and miles and miles. And like the wolf, I think they're probably closer to the wolf than any other breed that we have. But like the wolf, they'll trot for miles. They're very fluid, usually, or they're supposed to be. That's about all I can say about that. That's all I know about that, I guess. These are not show dogs, so they're farm dogs. They, what's the matter, babe?
You mentioned, you know, they know commands like go to the river. You know, I think of water dogs.
Sit down.
I think of labs and retrievers, but actually German Shepherds love the water as well.
They swim. They love to swim. They love to swim.
Just let them run. They'll be fine.
Okay.
They'll be fine. They'll come back to you because you're the master.
They will.
But they do love to swim.
And they're good swimmers, yes. A previous shepherd that I had, I would take swimming and I could just hang on to her collar and she'd just save me. She would do that. I haven't had that opportunity with these dogs, but we swim in the river in the summer almost every day when it's low enough.
Their coat is a little bit coarse. Is that something special with this particular breed? And do you have a lot of maintenance with German Shepherds?
Yeah, they have it's called a double coat. So what you see, what's on the outside is kind of long, coarse hair, but underneath is this woven, matted coat that's like boiled wool. It's just dense. So they can swim in 35-degree water with no problem.
No hesitation.
No hesitation. I don't know how they do it. They, in the winter, in the snow and ice, she's laying out there in the snow. You know, the cold does not bother them.
Not bother them.
So that's another feature of the breed that makes them good for a lot of work, like search and rescue in the mountains, for example.
You talked about maybe putting Roxie through search and rescue training. I guess, what would they be used for in that situation? And is that a pretty labor-intensive training process? It
would be, yes. The reason I liked that for her was because she's a determined searcher. When we throw balls into the tall grass, she doesn't give up till she finds the ball. So we did some training, like you trail a hot dog behind you, have somebody keep the dog, and you trail a hot dog behind you, and then the dog finds you by the scent, or things like that. To do it officially, it's a nonprofit volunteer organization, but you train every month, once a month, kind of like the reserves, and you're on call for any kind of emergency where somebody needs to be found. An elderly person wandering away from home, a child wandering away from home, or, you know, usually kind of sad situations, but the dogs can help a lot.
Would you, in your opinion, being someone that has born and raised German Shepherds, are they a family dog? You know, if somebody's out there watching and they're majestic and thinking, oh, I would really like to have a German Shepherd as part of my family. There's probably pros and cons, and that's for every breed. But in your opinion, what would you say is somebody out there that's considering it? Obviously, do your research first.
Obviously, but if your family's active, lots of outdoor activities, I think they're a fine family dog. Usually they will bond specially to one person. They'll choose one person in the family, that's their person, but they will care for the whole family. The whole property, in fact, they will take over as theirs and guard it accordingly. So they'll let you know when somebody's there. They generally will hold people from, they won't let people walk in your door unwelcomed.
Right.
So you have a good guardian. You have I wouldn't say they play with the kids so much as they herd them and look after them, supervise them. So, you know, a lab would play with a kid just one-on-one, but the shepherds are a little bit more aloof. So, if your family's active, you'd have a good dog. I mean, he would be a good companion.
But you told me before we went on the air here that also German Shepherds need a lot of space.
Yes, they do.
And that's one thing that I think somebody out there needs to know, that they're, talk about their activity levels and the things that you have to do with them and the space that they need.
Well, we walk 3 to 4 miles a day plus swimming in the summer and almost that much in the winter. The dogs need that much exercise. So that's got to fit into your family routine to have it. They need a space to call their own territory. So if you're in town, a fenced-in yard is a must. Beyond that, though, there's good dogs because they stay home. We live in the country. I have no fences, but they know their territory and they stay there, even when I'm gone. So they don't have to be tied up.
Do they get along with other dogs?
Yeah.
I mean, is that
pretty
something
much
that some breeds don't? They're very to themselves and aloof.
She's not nearly as interested as he is. He plays with almost anybody who will play with him. But she doesn't hurt other dogs or threaten them in any way, but she just walks away if she doesn't want to play.
What about caring for them as far as, you know, maintenance, as far as bathing and brushing, and I'm assuming that's pretty routine because they shed a lot.
They shed a lot, and so if you are someone who needs your home spotlessly clean all the time, they would not be for you. Because they do need to be in the house with you. To be a family dog, they got to be with the family. So not shut out alone outside. So they have to come in the house, and you have to put up with some hair on the floor sometimes. But dogs don't sweat, so they don't need to bathe as much as we do, but they do need to be brushed every day because there's always hair coming off of them. And even now, your cleanup person will probably notice
a few little hairs.
Yeah, there will be.
Roxie and Truman. What about any health problems associated with the German Shepherds? You know, as a lab owner, they sometimes have hip problems, and I had a lab that tore an ACL being rambunctious. Any specific problems with the
Well, the American breeding line of Shepherds features the sloping hips. These dogs are more from a German line. Their backs are more straight. They have a different profile. But those dogs are very susceptible to hip dysplasia, which I'm not a vet, so I don't, but as I understand it, it's a degenerative bone disease. So it's kind of like maybe osteoporosis. The hips just deteriorate. And it's non-curable.
Get your ball, Roxie. Get your ball. You know, we were talking too about the life expectancy of German Shepherds, and you said, you know, over time that's changed a little bit. What is the life expectancy, and in your opinion, why has it changed over the years?
Well, the more dogs that get hip dysplasia, their lives are shortened quite a bit because they lose their rear ends. I think that has contributed a lot. There are more cancers these days in everybody, not just dogs, but people, you know, that does it. But those are the two big ones. Once you got your puppy up and past the puppy disease stage, you probably got a pretty good, healthy dog. But that's where your research needs to come in. When you buy a puppy, you need to get it from a breeder who will give you a guarantee. These dogs have been x-rayed and shown to be free of dysplasia.
And that's what I was going to ask you is how do you, well, first of all, if it sounds like the German Shepherd is the dog for me, how do I go about finding, you know, the right person that has the right breed, that has the right genes? Do you go through something like the AKC or the German Shepherd Club of America or some of those organizations? Or,
oh, yeah.
I mean, you said you know, you probably searched out.
Start on the web. Yeah, if you go and search German Shepherds, you'll find all kinds of breeders. So, but then you need to vet the breeders. You need a breeder who will, like I say, give you that guarantee, that 2-year at least guarantee. I like a breeder who will demand that if you don't want the dog, he wants it back.
Absolutely.
And then they have a line that they can show you that the lineage is also free of the genetic diseases. So that's research you can do through AKC. And
talk to people like you.
And talk, well, yeah. But there are good breeders. I wouldn't buy a puppy from a backyard breeder, somebody who just is not professional about it. There can be some good dogs come from that, but you won't necessarily know.
Right.
So you pay a little more money for these health guarantees, and you save a lot of money later when you don't have to have hips replaced.
That's right.
And things like that.
Well, Ann, we have about a minute left, and I want you to leave us with either a happy story or something very special in your mind about German Shepherds that we could leave the viewers with.
Oh my goodness. I should have been prepared for that one because there's so many. Well,
any special dog besides your two now? Any special memories of maybe a friend that you had in your life all these years raising shepherds?
Okay, well, a previous shepherd was named Ruby. She was a wonderful female dog who not only guarded me, but guarded people that came to my house. One day, I came home and there was a truck parked there, and it was mushroom hunting season, which happens around my place. Well, I happened to also have at that time a dog who was I shouldn't have had. I'd got, not a shepherd, but who threatened people. Well, this was a family. So I came home, and here I see this family coming back from mushroom hunting, 2 little kids, young. And Ruby was trotting right along with them. The other dog was about 25 yards back. I went out to talk to them, and they said, "What a nice dog you have." But she wouldn't let the other dog near us.
Ruby the protector.
She didn't know those people, but she knew those were kids, and she knew that dog was not trustworthy around those kids, and she did not allow him to do that, to come near. So that is pretty typical, really, of a German Shepherd. Yeah. And so if that's the kind of dog you want, I can tell you where to get some good ones.
They're special friends. Well, thank you, Ann, for joining us on this episode.
It's really been fun. Thank you.
Oh, it's been great. Roxie, Thurman, come here. Thurman, come here. He's waiting to fetch his ball is what he's doing.
Oh,
well, you guys have been doing real well today. We're very proud of you. So thank you both for joining us. And again, Ann, thank you for your expertise.
I'm very happy to be here.
They say second place is the first loser, but the runner-up in the ugliest dog contest has definitely won the hearts of her Florida owners. Ashley Walters has the details.
At G&M Ranch in Loxahatchee Groves, you'll find the many unusual animal rescues of veterinarian Virginia Sayer and her husband, Mike Carroll.
Well, here she comes.
Among them, one now known around the world, a dog named Quasimodo.
If you're animal people, you always get Quasi. But if you're not an animal person, I've had grown men jump on top of their trucks to get away from her. I had one kid that did a Hollywood scream, "Ah!"
After years of nudging from friends, they flew Quasie to the world's ugliest dog contest in California.
Some people relate to her in this pose right here as Winston Churchill, a big barreled chest type of person.
So Quasie's loving family calls her a half dog. That's because she's missing some of her vertebrae and the rest are fused together. Getting a good scratch there?
She draws a crowd everywhere she goes.
They're not sure of her breed. They say knowing might take away some of the fun.
The name Quasie is Latin for incomplete, so it really fits her well.
But like so many of life's best things,
And maybe that's why we got second instead of first, because she's so ugly, she's cute.
with Quasie,
I love the dog. She's not ugly.
beauty is beyond fur deep.
She's a very gentle soul. She loves everybody and everything. There's nothing in the world that she would hurt. And people are her best friends.
Production for the Paw Report is made possible by Inyart Tire and Auto Center in Charleston and Mattoon. Inyart offers complete auto repair. Inyart Tire and Auto Center cares about our community and thanks you for being a responsible pet owner. More information at inyart.com.